Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Rory. Yeah, the thing we're going to be talking about this morning is clean wine. Um, Clean wine sounds like it might be something impressive. Clean gets to be a very popular thing in food and wine right now to a certain audience. In pretty much all of these cases, all it is marketing. I mean, you see you see their marketing slogans, natural and clean. So what do they say? Everything else is unnatural and dirty. I don't really buy that, but I mean, it's pretty much all wine is not dirty. Um, there's a few companies out there doing this. Companies Good Clean Wine, Aveline, Wonderful Wine Company, Scout and Cellar. They're all marketing the same thing. But what does it mean? There's no regulations, there's no definition, there's no rules on what clean wine means. It's all it is a marketing term. You see another one that's been around for decades now and been recently last 10 years especially is organic. I had a farmer friend of mine who loved to talk about organic. Organic could only be made by very large factory farms because they're the only ones who could afford the hundreds of thousands of dollars that it costs to get certified organic. Now, does that mean the food's better? Well, it's made by a big factory farm instead of a small artisanal farmer, so not in my eyes. But the other thing about organic was that organic had some specific rules. It said that um, you could only uh, you could only use certain types of chemicals, organic chemicals. They're still chemicals. Just because they're naturally occurring chemicals rather than factory made chemicals, they're still chemicals. And and traditional pesticides, people were allowed to use only specific total concentration of pesticides over the course of the growing of a piece of produce. Organic doesn't have any such limit. You can put an unlimited amount of quote unquote organic pesticide. It's still poison onto your food. So organic produce often has more pesticides, more poisons than non-organic. So what does certified organic mean? You're paying for a big company to sell you your products instead of some small farmer who really cares about what they're doing. So you start looking at wines that are clean wines. Again, there's no rules. There's wine doesn't ever you never see a wine label that's going to tell you what the ingredients used in making of the wine are. You just assume that it's grapes. All that you need to make wine are grapes because grapes have everything in them. Yeast is what you need to ferment the wine. You know where yeast comes from most commonly? The outside of grapes. You ever see some grapes that have sort of this white powdery stuff on the outside? That's yeast. That's naturally occurring, and that's where it all starts. Bread was first created by using yeast from grapes. So yeast comes from grapes. That's the only thing you absolutely need to make. Now, Aveline, it's been promoted heavily by Cameron Diaz, who's behind it. Their wines, this is published but not on the label, contain sulfites, bentonite clay, pea protein, cream of tartar, yeast and yeast nutrients. They add extra commercial yeast to make a predictable. All these things make predictable wines. All these things are need to make large factory produced punch that has no character. I mean, none of these chemicals are harmful. They don't. I mean, you know, the sulfites will give you the headaches. We all know what it happens. But a lot of these things are, perfectly fine if not making particularly good wine, but they're not unclean. They're just, So I guess that their claim of being clean is more or less accurate, but that's a whole lot of things that aren't grapes that you won't find in our wines. I'm not going to say our winemakers will never use any of them because sometimes they'll see a minor adjustment, but they're not going to be using it in the quantities you need to see on the big factory wines that make hundreds of thousands or millions of cases of wine. One of the most common ones out of that list, you see the bentonite clay, the pea protein. Those are used for fining and filtering of wine. A process that makes for, again, more shelf stable, more pretty wine. On the other hand, it makes for wine that has no character. If you take things out, it's going to taste less interesting. Again, the same thing about the yeast. As I said, the commercial yeast, instead of just using what naturally occurs on the grapes, you use commercial yeast. Probably a lot of you are familiar with sourdough bread. Sourdough bread is made from naturally occurring yeast, basically whatever's in the air wherever you are. So San Francisco sourdough is going to be a bit different than sourdough made in New York. And that's great. That's interesting. That has some character. Commercial yeast bread is going to taste, your Wonder Bread is going to taste the same no matter where on the planet you are and no matter how many decades after it was made. So that's the same thing with wine. If you use commercial yeast, you can get exactly the same taste all the time, every time. Predictable, boring. So, I mean, there's some others, cream of tartar, bakers know this one. It's just used to prevent sediment. There's really nothing wrong with it, but why add things you don't need? But again, as I said, unlike food, winemakers don't have to list ingredients. So all that does is opens the door for a lot of people to market bulk. They basically can make claims that other wineries use noxious chemicals and nasty things, and they don't. They use the same things that these people use. Strangely, though, the people who are so committed to saying, well, we're going to rip the lid off the wine industry, we're going to make something different, they don't tell you where their wine comes from. Many, winemakers who really love what they do will go into massive detail telling you exactly it was grown on this vineyard on a shady slope and with this kind of soil. They'll give you all kinds of things. Wonderful Wine Company, one of the clean wine companies, their white wines come from France. That's it. That's all they tell you. You'll see the same with a lot of them. Some of them will list something specific, but most of them will be France or California or maybe just USA. Not really very specific for somebody who's trying to be transparent. So, but the thing is, another thing about wine is it's not completely natural. Yes, all you need to make wine is grapes. But if you take grapes and stick them in a tub and crush them, they don't create wine. They create basically vinegar or very cloudy, sour wine. It takes a serious, talented winemaker who has learned their craft for decades to make a quality fine wine. And that's not going to come, it doesn't, so clean and natural still requires the artisan. It still requires the craftsman who knows what they're doing to make the wine. Now, some things have happened in the last 40 years that it's an absolute revolution in winemaking. People know so much more about making wine than they ever did before, and they know how to make predictable wine. You know how people used to talk about, oh, this is a good vintage or a bad vintage? You don't hear that a whole lot anymore because at this point, no matter what happened that year, that's just a challenge for the winemaker to make an expression of that grape. It's no longer it's going to be a bad wine or a good wine. It's just going to be a different wine. Now, a different wine doesn't work well for the factory winemakers who want to produce their bottle of, Put Your Log Prisoner, for example, that some of you had in Florida, which every single bottle has to taste the same no matter where you are. So that's where you start seeing all these things, all these added ingredients, the sulfites, the sugar, all these things to make, no matter what, you could use any grapes and produce that wine by the time these factory processes done. That's not natural. And that's a lot of these quote unquote clean wines are pretty much the same thing. These are not small artisanal batches of wine made from, made in a few thousand cases, 10,000 cases. These are hundreds of thousands of cases or more that are just being labeled with their clean wine. One of the examples of this, Scout and Cellar has their Gallivant Chardonnay. If you read on their website, it says this was made by a fifth generation family winemaker founded in Monterey in 1883, but it doesn't say which. A little bit of a web search finds that Wente Vineyards Morning Fog Chardonnay was made by a coincidentally fifth generation family winemaker founded in 1883 in Monterey. I found that bottle in a local Safeway for $12. This is mass market wine. I'm sure any of you can go find that wine at your local supermarket. So the quote unquote exclusive clean wine is nothing more than a rebranded factory wine. It's punch. There's no character, it's not even particularly chemical free. You do not make a mass market wine that's made in that quantity without adding stuff to it. It's not going to be stable. It's not going to be predictable in that quantity. So the only way they're making it, their wine is anything but. It is that one in particular shows you exactly how much it is not anything special. They're putting a name on it. They're saying it's clean, and they're selling you the same thing that you can go buy for, relatively little locally, except you get to pay twice as much or more from them to get that same exclusive marketing. Now, wine, as much as wine to me is one of my great joys, wine is not health food. Wine is not a wellness potion. It's a snapshot of time. It's a manifestation of the place and the people who made it. It's magic when you have it with people and enjoy it. It's not something to be commoditized and turned into some sort of magic elixir. That it's a magic elixir, but not the way those people are talking about. To start taking fine food and fine wine and turning it into something that's starting to make health claims instead, to me is insulting to the wine, insulting to the winemakers and the people who enjoy it for what it is, because it doesn't need to be anything more. So, when it comes to clean wine, there's nothing there. That's pretty much all it is. It's just hype, marketing, and really nothing more other than the same wine that you can pay a lot more for, or a lot less for, sorry, at your supermarket and not enjoy. So that's what clean wine is.
So I'll let you guys know, we'll be sharing some articles that professionals are putting out there. So while our own resident professional on wine and one of us is here to depict this, I just want you guys to understand the whole industry is rising up against this in all form and fashion, saying clean wines, that is the most ridiculous thing ever. It's not a selling point. It's not even a thing that they should be using. And they're basically, it's a lie. So you're going to see more and more articles on that. It's definitely Googleable. And that's the thing about today that I don't think that a lot of companies understand. We are more connected today than we have ever all been connected before. So good news, bad news will travel super fast. And that's why we want to make sure we're always depicting our truth. We're not modifying the things. We're not exaggerating stuff. We state it as it is. And what's awesome is I think we have an amazing wine product, and ours is in a wine. We have an amazing wine, not an amazing wine product. We are competing against wine products. These are, for, I don't know any other word other than they have really cheapened the real process. It's all for profits and gains. And they've really lost sight of what true wine is supposed to be. And that the health benefits that are available to wine are available because it's a true fine wine. When they do these things, they're taking the benefits out. So all it is a way to get drunk versus a way to enhance your life through this incredible, gift of the God, which is wine. And wine is just amazing. And you guys know, you guys are already part of it. You're drinking this incredible, the wine. Gosh, I'm getting thirsty. So it's really good knowledge for us to have and go back and forth with. And it's also something that, like anything else, if we don't promote it, no one else is going to. So we need to self-promote in a positive light that we have these true fine wines. And maybe the angle is, a lot of, there's companies that might tout that they have a clean wine. Well, that's ridiculous. Just stick with a true fine wine, try ours, and you'll never want to have anybody's version of a clean wine ever. And that might just be the best angle, is, just a positive, on there. But there are articles you can reference people to. And they're everywhere. They're popping up more and more. What's been very interesting is these clean wine direction in marketing companies. They're all getting they're pissing off all the wine experts because they've made up something that's just not true. And so the articles are coming out, and it's going to be constantly going that direction. And it's going to be the point where they're going to get laughed at. They're getting laughed at now. And it's because it's just not true. And, it's definitely where marketing's gone overboard. They've exaggerated things. But the scary part of it is they've actually built a following up that thinks that this is a true way to go. That is so bad. I mean, when you sell a lie so big that people are following it, pretty bad, right? And the world catches on quicker. If before social media, things like this could have built up a huge following over decades before it was even known. So I remember in some health situations, there was a company, and I'm not going to say any names, but they touted how important their product was and how high the ORAC level was, right? And that theirs was so much superior than everything else. And that was their main selling benefit, was how great their product was versus the rest of the industry. And it wasn't a little bit better. It was so much bigger and better, right? Well, this is before social media was really a thing. And they built up into this multi-billion-dollar company. And then somebody reverse engineered it, did a scientific analysis of it, and realized that in the making of their product, the heat temperatures that they use literally killed all the health benefits they could even talk about because they heated it out. They literally, in making it and doing the cheap preservation model of a product like this, they destroyed it. Well, that information bled out, and it literally ruptured the entire company because everybody fell in love with the company being so amazing, having such great content in their ingredients, and it was all false. They were literally buying a sterilized product, had no nutritional value in it whatsoever, because the process in which they had it made literally killed all the nutrients. These things happen in the industries, in the food industry all the time, yet now they're exposed even quicker. So when you hear about clean wine, just realize that's a gimmick for them to try to cover up that they're doing a mass-produced wine. They're trying to find a way to sell off a very cheap version of wine, a wine product, with some hocus pocus, it's better for you nonsense. That's my take on it. I want you guys to understand that when you write on it, we're just going to stick to who we are. And if you taste their wines and they do not taste as good as a true fine wine because they've been stripped out because they wanted to refine their process. Really, I don't know. I mean, Peter, my opinion on it is they're trying to find a way to sell this mass-produced wine without calling it mass-produced wine.
Yeah, that's exactly it. They're trying to find some gimmick to label it. And that example I gave you, if you start taking any wines on these clean wine company sites, do a little, try to look at some of their, when they try to explain to you where it is, every once in a while, they're going to give you that, oh, this is made from a family winery in Monterey. Google that. You'll find a mass-produced wine with the exact same story. Because they don't have the winemakers who do. They're not making things in small batches. This week, our favorite winemaker called me up and said, I got this batch of this Tempranillo. That's amazing. I got 100 cases of it. That's all I've got. And we said, yeah, we'll take it. That's 100 cases. That's nothing. It's not even a blip on the radar of these people, but it's going to be an amazing wine that every one of you is going to love. As opposed to, if you can go, if it's the same wine that I can find here at Safeway that you could find there, and somebody in Florida or New York is going to find the exact same bottle and taste the exact same, it's there's no magic there.
Peter's starting to be like Brett with the loose lips. You guys, we literally, cause Peter acquired an amazing wine, and I was gonna like broadcast it out special, and you guys are here, so I guess you get it. You guys don't understand. He's got some amazing contacts because his life has been in the walk of wine as well. And it's a winemaker that reached out and said, hey, I have this very special wine. Peter already knows the wine, and we were able to acquire everything he has. It's an amazing thing for us. But thanks, Peter. I think it's coming in the next, don't tell them when it's coming out. You guys can just wait till the shipments. But if you guys haven't had a Tempranillo, I can't pronounce that one ever, Peter. It's a very special grape. So you could put it similar to like in rarity from Napa. Like you're not going to see a lot of these coming out of the Napa region yet. This one is. It's a special crop. It's grown by set farmers for it, and it could be the only time we ever get this type of a situation from them, and it's amazing. I'm excited about it. And do not bring up the other ones. You guys, we have some awesome winemakers, and they're like, hey, we're doing this special thing here. Do you guys want to try it? Because they want us to, to buy it. And we have a very hard time saying no to incredible wines. So we did acquire a couple of them. They're all out of the Napa Sonoma regions. And, but they're also from known winemakers that we're already dealing with that, so we commission our wines, but sometimes they bring us special ones because they know we have an attitude for it. And also we don't mind throwing those into our kits. You guys remember when people are ordering, you get your 4 bottles, your 6 bottles, but if you order a custom case, it's gone when it's gone. Like we don't really, our inventory is just deplete out. And so I know we have some holiday stuff coming out. I know we've made on purpose. You guys can thank Peter. I think we're really set on the sparklings, both the Brut and the sparkling Rosé Priscilla. We have that in stock for the holidays. That was something we always wanted to do because we sell a lot of the sparklings because they're a festive drink. Some people drink them all year long, and that's great. We have them. There's a lot of celebrations going on. I know, we'll be toasting with those when Gavin has his wedding on the 23rd of this month. We've already got it ready to go. And I know Nell, when you did your weddings, you were able to get cases of it. You guys, we get to have a lot of fun with the stuff that we have. And I'm going to go back to that focus, but we do get treats every now and then that we get to add incredible values. And this one here is one that, nobody would be able to get those bottles of wines for $25. We're way up there, right? And we like that. So it's kind of fun, but also, man, there's some good ones coming this holiday season.
Yeah,
everybody's getting the Donna the Donna Walker and the Nile Eddy. Right? Those have got reds.
Yep, those have been going out. A lot of people, I see them on some of the unboxing videos already. So I know they're getting out there, and I have mine. So yeah, we got some that great stuff. And like you said, when we run out, we run out. And that's as you discovered yourself this week. You tried to place an order for some more than used that we were completely out of stock on.
Yeah, I like, it's funny because I looked at the inventory. I actually can see the full inventory, right? I looked at the inventory not that long ago, and I thought we had all that in. So I was like, oh, I want some more of this, and we have a special charity thing coming up, and I'm like, let's get this and this, and Tanya's literally like, Rory, it's gone. Like, there's no more. And I'm like, what? Like, she's like, it's gone, Rory, it's gone. So I'm like, okay, what else is up there? Yeah. And I know we got some good ones coming out, like we always do, but there's some really special ones. You guys, we've been anticipating some of these wines. Like, think about it. So Tanya, Peter, and I, there's some of these wines that are finally being ready to be bottled and delivered. We've been tasting for years now, and we finally get to get them. Like, we've been teased more than you guys because you don't even know what they taste like yet. We do. And so I keep asking Peter, like, well, the latest one is, and this is funny for me, but when's that Moscato ready? And he tells me when, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been wanting that. You guys, I've been talking about that one since the summer. Have I not?
Oh, since April when we first tasted it. Yeah.
Oh, well, I knew it wasn't ready to, it wasn't going to be ready yet for a couple of months, but I just remember going, when's that Moscato coming out? Because I want it like on, and that's going to be a very festive winter one. And I agree with waiting to the winter on it, but that's coming here for the holidays, right?
Yeah. The reason I wanted to do that, that's coming in our November shipment. And the reason I wanted to include it then is you need a wine like that for your Thanksgiving meal. There's so much of the food that you eat at Thanksgiving is so sweet. And if you were to take a dry wine against that, it would just get clobbered. It would taste like nothing. So you need that Moscato to go against your cranberry sauce and all your sweet appetizers and all that stuff. Then get to your turkey and use a Syrah or a Pinot Noir. But yeah, that's why we did that wine exactly then, because it's to enjoy with your Thanksgiving.
So you guys know that's coming up. I'm just gonna state this: when that Moscato hits and you guys try it, I don't think it's gonna last inventory very long. Like
yeah.
Tanya's muting me. She may not want me to say something. I don't know, Peter. What was that, babe? Yeah, I'm being muted by the boss over here.
I got my finger on the mute button, Tanya. We're all good.
But yeah, I can't tell you how many times, if I look back through my Skype window, the number of times, when is that Moscato coming out? When's that Moscato coming out? So
there's certain wines that just sit on your tongue, like in memory, and go through it. Like every one of our Grand Crus, we knew they were coming, but we had to wait for them to be finished. And so you'd be on there, and then you get that, and the anticipation's amazing. But when you guys, I'm just trying to tell you, you guys don't know what it tastes like yet. Except some of you do, because we had that Moscato in limited form for tasting at the wine event at the harvest event.
Yeah, we pulled some of it. Had our winemaker pull some of it out of the barrel and throw it into a few bottles for us. So, although somebody snuck into my stash of it, so we didn't have that much at the tasting tent.
Yeah, but I think she felt deserved, because it is her name on that label, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so. So I know she's on here. She's always on these calls, but the Ashley for Priscilla Ashley label will be on that Moscato, and what a treat on that. I guess I can highlight that since we're here and we have a few more minutes. Do not hesitate on pushing to grow your business, you guys. We're gonna have 2 more label winners, one this year, one next year. I want to make sure we don't do a double again. That was a little bit of chaos, and it was well worth it. You guys worked really hard. Tanya and I will be drinking the Donna Walker and the Nile Eddy this weekend. Like at least a couple bottles of each, I'm sure. And it's one of those things when we pour those glasses and Tanya and I drink it, we're going to be celebrating all the work and leadership from Nile, all the work and leadership from Donna. And it's literally a manifestation in the grape and the juice and that became the wine that we get to celebrate with. Come here. See, we're talking wine. She like listens to everything I say.
My favorite thing. No, the thing about that is we have. So you guys know Niall's our brother, and he can't be here with us. But when we have that glass, that bottle, he's with us, right? So even though we're not drinking with him, we're with him. And it's the same thing with Donna. I always call Donna the queen here because she is the little queen bee, and she's been here forever. And the same thing with her. And it was the same thing with Ashley, with the Priscilla. We had the Priscilla over the holidays. So even though Priscilla wasn't here, she was here with us.
Priscilla's in our house all the time. I think we have at least one bottle. When we get down, we get really family.
It's our daughter-in-law's favorite, so it tends to go very quickly because both of our daughters will take
3 bottles will be gone, and I'll be like, what?
Yeah, that's what it is. I know life will be with us all the time. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys, and we get to share you.
So we'll be having some Nile Eddy and Donna Meyer this weekend, and that fruit, that heavy fruit in that Pinot is so special. Guys, if you went to a liquor store and bought every bottle of Pinot Noir, you're not going to find anything that tastes even like that for a Pinot. That's how special it is. And then the Donna ones, I mean, that just comes from a special winemaker too. They're just unique, right? And it's an amazing cab. So we'll be on some charcuterie boards here really soon and mixing that up. I got some great like cheeses that'll go right with that Pinot. That being said, holiday time, gifts giving, you guys, the gift of a sparkling, the gift of Moscatos, for people that don't know much about wine, those are a really good entry level gift giving direction. So I guess the Moscato will be available in November.
Yep.
All right. So as soon as we can, let's get that added to the custom case.
As soon as it shows up in the warehouse, it'll be there.
You guys, because that's gonna be a very awesome way to give a gift and also get them addicted to amazing taste. Like that is a special wine. I have a name for it, but I'm gonna get in trouble. It is that Moscato is, to me, it's not a Moscato. That's like its own special wine like category. That I don't know if we'll ever have a Moscato like this again. It's a very special one. I mean, the orange taste that came out of it, and you guys, when we tasted it in April, it was amazing. And then we got to taste it again, for the right for the harvest event, because it's pretty much ready to be bottled. We were letting it do its magic and get ready, and that orange taste was even better. Like it tasted better, which is what usually happens when it's being refined. I was already happy with it in April. I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so good. But anyway, just remember I said that. I've been talking about that for a long time. Peter, I can't believe I get to talk about a Moscato. I mean, that's something I would have never.
I know. We got you excited about a rosé and a Moscato now. So
yeah. So I guess don't be closed-minded, because the right winemaker is going to change your mind.
Yeah, and actually, that's one of the things about our wines. As you're talking about these entry things, a lot of our wines will change your mind about any wine. I kind of got burned out on a lot of terrible Merlots over the years, and then we bottled the Rickard, and I can have that every day. Yeah. It's our Chardonnays. For people who don't like Chardonnays, all of a sudden they taste these. That Moonlight Sonata. Watch Niall's face when he has that one. That was something special. And all of these, it doesn't matter. You don't think you like a particular wine? Try ours. You might change your mind.
So we're almost. I think are we out of the Rickard 2017? I mean,
I think we're down to we're under 100 bottles. I know that. I don't know.
The Rickard 2017 is about gone, and sometime in the coming months, I'll leave it there. The Rickard 2018, we've signed off for bottling. It's in its last finishing time. It's awesome. Totally different taste. This is the way it should be. So if you have a bottle of the Rickard 2017 when the 2018 comes and you do like a pairing, if you want to see a dynamic change, same winemaker, different wine from year to year, this is a really good time to do that. If you have any Rickard left, we're down to just a few bottles.
But yeah, keep a few, because you want to do, it's called a vertical tasting when you start doing the same wine over several different years. So, keep at least one bottle to have with the 18, and maybe if you have another one, so when we get to the 19, you can start tasting them all together. You're really going to have an experience just from that.
Yeah. Yeah. The 19 still, that's not even ready to taste.
No, it hasn't even,
I'm getting all excited for that.
Yeah. I mean, the 18 is amazing. The 19, maybe we've had a sample of it in the, hasn't even been blended. It's sitting in barrels. So it's.
Okay. Hold on one second. I'm getting some new information.
Uh-oh. You're not making any sound, Roy.
Oh, I know, because I was making sure I'm saying it right.
Oh, so okay.
Okay, so we're leaving this incredibly hot summer. There's some updates from Tanya on the shipping. the Canadian wine should all be being delivered. People should be getting their wine. It takes a while, but that did go, but finally got released. The temperatures are holding. Soon, it's going to be freezing temperatures in some areas. I know. And we did have a couple, like we are in temperature control in some areas. I know like Arizona, Texas, those deliveries are on their way. If you see a tracking if you see that it says it's been done, they're on their way. We've had a couple delays. We also had a couple days delay in September, just because we want to make sure that the wine winners got their cases. Yeah. Those have already. Well, they're all being the delays right now, guys. Some of them got delayed an extra week because, and you guys are feeling it because we're going through temperature controlled. So here's the direction that we're going to be going, guys. I'm just gonna. It's what it is, and to me, it's a high quality issue. I'm going to tell you my background with this is I've traveled the globe going to wineries, right? I was traveling as a speaker and a trainer, and I would always stay extra or come early and go to wineries. All right. I'm already spending the airfare. It's just a couple more nights at the hotel and I can go try wine. Yeah, I'm going to do that everywhere I went. Right. And you'd find wines and I'd ship them home. Okay. And logistics, that meant I was going to get it in months. So all those crazy wines I had in South Africa that I want to share, they're already back home because I just tasted them. I didn't have them for months because that's how long, and that's still how long it takes, by the way, typically. Like I got those wines from Australia, it took 3 months to get here. And that was my last trip that I went to a winery outside of the States was that one. That's crazy. Oh yeah, this international travel has been shut down. So anyway, I get used to that. Well, we have incredible fine wines, right? We're talking a high level wine. We're shipping it and it's in insured situations. It's going through temperature control. When the heat or the cold is there, we just got to plan accordingly. Okay. And even in the best case scenarios, we're shipping things out. Now, when people get their Grand Crus, instead of temperature control, we're literally, I think, what are we doing? 2-day shipments?
I'm not sure if it's either 2-day or overnight at this point.
Yeah, it's either overnighted or 2-day, I guess. And people are getting their wine super fast, but it's because it's cheaper for us to send that overnight than deal with the insurance issues on the difference. Because it's high value, very high value on the Grand Cru. So when we're going forward and just understand that your wines are going to come. So if you're feeling like if your wine's at the end of the month, typically on your Smart Ship and you want it sooner, bump it to the first of the month. Simple math. And if you're running out of wine early, those custom cases are your best friend, right? Stock up a little bit. And it's just timing. You have such an incredible value as a member here. It's okay to stock up a case or two extra so that you always have it on hand in anticipation, especially of the hot months and the freezing months. And, Canada just got their wine released. There's going to be, a month or so, and then we don't know what the weather patterns have been a little odd, but it's going to get too cold in parts of Canada, right? I always joke about the igloo stuff. And it's going to get too cold in parts of Canada again, where we'll have to hold it until the temperature is right. We have a separate insurance process of shipping up there. If it's not right around 84 degrees, 83 degrees, we can't ship it. They won't insure it. They won't insure it if it drops below so many, I can't remember the degrees are, but obviously if it's going to destroy the product, they're not going to ship it because they won't let us even insure it. So
it's not even just insurance. We want you to get the wine where it's good. If we ship the wine and it's terrible, and when you get it, it's terrible, we're wasting our time. We're ruining
and we stand behind our wines. We're going to replace it if it's bad. So we want to make sure you guys get it when it's optimal. And that's just going to be something we got to train around. And it's a high quality issue, right? When they sign up, if we're shipping wine right then, great. They can get a case, two cases in a Grand Cru and have some, and then order a case the next month or every other month. And it's only for those temperature months, right? The very hot summer and the very cold winter. And otherwise, it's just like clockwork. But we've got it down in the U.S. Internationally, we have pretty good controls on the containers and the stuff that we consolidate and ship. It's but there's if anywhere along that way the temperature is going to violate the what do you call it? The structure of the wine,
The integrity
We're
of
not-
the wine, yeah.
the integrity of the wine. We're not going to do it, right? If anybody's ever had a bottle of wine that sat out in a boiling car and you actually drank it and it didn't taste right, that's how it always goes. And we don't want to, yes, it is what it is. It's a perishable good, right? There's a reason they sell wine fridges to keep it at an optimal temperature, right? There's a reason. And so that's just something to be, just be understandable of. And, something that we're going to cover in the trainings. I think, Tanya, you're going to be doing that next week, cover some things on shipping. Yeah, Tanya will be on with Ashley next week, covering some things on shipping and whatnot. Okay.
Yeah. Couple things, just you mentioned the wine fridge thing. Two things about that. Don't keep your wine in your regular refrigerator for more than a day or two. It's too cold and it'll actually ruin your wine. The other thing is you'll see wines in the supermarkets. They're not in wine fridges, but guess what? That's the mass market wine with all the stabilizing chemicals. That's not our stuff. There's a reason you want to treat ours a little special. And I know Tanya will cover the shipping, but you mentioned Grand Crus. The only box, if somebody comes and signs up as a Grand Cru, they're regular, the 2 cases of wine, those go out by whatever way we're shipping, temp control, ground, whatever. It's only the wooden box that goes out overnight or 2 days.
The wooden box with the 6 incredible bottles of wine.
So yeah, so people get confused and said, "Wait a second, I only got my wood box. I didn't get," because that was
Right.
the one we wanted to get to you later.
Yeah, and so the others just come the normal way. So there, you guys, we're branding and exposure. This consensus marketing. I'm going to talk about it just for a second. We have a few more minutes. We're constantly working, and there's SEO work being done at a very professional level on our brand pages. Okay, and more brand pages are being created and updated. So we do brand pages for our wine winners too, our label winners. And these are corporate brands. We're sharing that marketing with the Grand Crus. We are gaining ground. We are getting more and more exposure, and our wine names and our wine labels are getting out there. It's a definite patient process, full-on ascension marketing, but we are gaining ground. We had a plan and a vision on where we wanted to go with that from day one here, and we're executing it just great. The same thing goes with everybody here, and over the next coming months in the branding images that we do, we're going to be highlighting some of our actual wine labels and sending them to our Fine Wines page. We're going to start initiating that directive here by the December memes that are delivered in November. So on purpose. So we're going to start really focusing on our vintages and our labels, because they're not going anywhere, right? We just bring out the next vintage. The label remains. The what do you call it? The varietal remains. It's going to change the year, right? And we're going to starting to build up that progression of marketing across all of us marketing. And there's a very long-term future plan with that. And it's all tied to what we do in those custom memes. So I want you guys to understand that's a patient process altogether. And the more we do the same imagery in marketing, the better it is for everybody. So I want you guys to just imagine, if you look at Coca-Cola, if you travel much, you're going to see Coke everywhere. Coke tries to get in front of you 100,000 times a day. They're everywhere. They try to be everywhere. The more international you go, they were able to pick up advertising for life on billboards and sides of buildings, and they paint murals just because they know they can hold that for years. They want to be out there. It is a proven method of mass marketing, and we get to do it, all of us, a little bit at a time that benefits the entire family. That's what we get to do. And it's really important that we're having the same directions, the same message in our marketing that's being shared to get that effect. If Stacy, Niall, George, and I all market a different direction, that's basically acting as an army of one. That's fine. It can still get there. But if all of us market the same imagery in the same direction, we all get a feed off of each other, because the consumer isn't going to realize they're seeing it from multiple people. They're just going to see the same thing over and over again, and it's going to feel, and it's going to be more represented as big as we are. We are together. And it doesn't mean we should market independently. It means we should market together to win together. It's consensus marketing. And so we already understand how Ascension, it builds up. Well, if we're all building up in the same direction with the same imagery, it's way more powerful than individual marketing. Even though we're doing it individually, we get a share in mass if we use the same imagery, the same marketing concepts and directions. Even similar verbiage makes sense. You know, in our PBSs, uniformly, we look, pretty much the same, even though we have uniqueness. It's the same patterns, the same menus, the same, directions, even though we do make them unique, but that similarity benefits the next person and us, vice versa, as we get more and more exposure out there. So, if we look at 23,000 blogging systems out there that look and feel the same, that's more powerful than individuals all looking and working differently. There is a solid method to our massive marketing efforts, and I want to make sure you guys are all aware of that. In wine, same thing. So I wanted to make sure our SEO is being reached out there, our names are being out there, and what's going to happen is at some point, the population that we're marketing to, and we want to be hitting about, I think it's 17%. When we get 17% of the market, then it's like you get the whole market, because you've hit the mass number, and it's not 100% or 98%, it's 17. So we want to get that exposure out there. So SEO is running and everything out there. The more we share our wine parties and keep the names out there, it does add up. It does add up. And what we want to do is people say, oh, there's that More Than Music again. There's that More Than Music again. There's that More Than Music again. There's that Hudson again. There's that Antoniu again. Right? And keep the similarity. That's why we run with a similar label, and we change it very seldomly, but the theme stays the same. The vintages are the same. The years will change. The vintage will change, but the varietal will stay the same. I always mix those two up when I get talking. But you guys, there's a method to this, and it's not a method just to help today. It's a method for today, next year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road. A lot of these wines that people know and they think are good, they're really substandard wines. They just have really good marketing behind them. We have really good wines with really good marketing behind it, and we're doing it in a very awesome way. Nobody else can market the way we get a market. And we have mass appeal, but we've got to be smart about it. So I'm going to just stress, this is why we do set imagery and try to control that message so it's, it's not so unique. We actually want to be unique in our content in certain areas, but when we're putting a front forward on the wine and branding, we want to be uniform, because it looks bigger. The more we are all uniform, doing the same thing in the same direction with the same imagery, but it's all of us doing a little bit that makes it have that power and that strength. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, we got to make sure you guys, when you guys buy in on that and you understand that there's a powerful direction we're going, it benefits all of us. But the easier, it becomes easier to acquire a customer on a name of a product that they feel they've seen everywhere than a new product. People do not like change. They don't like the new, and that's the harder work, right? So all of us have been building a wine ambassador these years. We've been doing the hardest work ever. It's going to get easier and easier and easier because we're building our name. We're building our value. We're building our establishment of a wine brand in the industry. And all these things are things that make a difference long term, and we're doing it. We're doing it right. And I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. You understand why we're doing that. But we're ready now, based on the analytics of our SEO, we're going to start really focusing in on our brands and our specific labels. And we're going to be doing it in our meme marketing, our graphic marketing. And we're going to start doing that like on an every other month basis. We're going to be focusing on different wine angles, but featuring our wines. We're going to start doing product placement, because now we're ready. If people go look at it, they're going to be established brands online. And we got more coming. We're working on a big long-term plan. Lots of things in motion, all in this direction. And you guys get to hear it. All right. Anything else, Peter? We got 3 minutes.
I don't know. Yeah, I could go and spill the beans on some other wines you have.
No, we're done. All right, guys. Appreciate it all. God bless. We'll see you guys next week.